What's up, guys? Excuse me. Um, just decided to finally record another video here, and I've been thinking about this one topic, microdosing caffeine. So, I have been very sensitive to caffeine for a while. Um, Whenever I would have like a coffee or even a green tea, not only would it be like extremely stimulating to the point where like I couldn't sleep at night even if I had it like early in the day, um, but I would just get like very agitated and angry. Um, but I noticed the biggest thing is that it would like ruin my sleep. So, like, yeah, it's just not worth. It hasn't been worth consuming for me because it's just that uh, negatively impactive. Is impactive a word? I don't know, but it's a great one if it's not. It very negatively impacts my sleep. So I try because sometimes I really do need a boost in energy. Sometimes I do feel like I'm just unmotivated, low energy, uh, due to stress or whatever. I do feel like I do need a boost sometimes. And for a while, I was doing green tea, which it's kind of hard to control the dose of green tea because, I mean, you can look online how much, like, a cup of green tea, how much caffeine it has, but, like, how much do you really know? How do you really know how much is in a tea bag? Like, if you steep the tea for a minute, how much caffeine is that? If you steep it for 5 minutes, how much caffeine? It's clearly going to be more caffeine the longer you steep it, right? So how do you know exactly how much the dose is? So, I had mixed results with that. But what I found was cacao powder, raw cacao powder, has, um, according to the one I have, it has, shoot, I just had the number. I think it's like 35 milligrams per serving, and the serving is 2.5 tablespoons. I'm gonna double check real quick. It's 49 milligrams of caffeine per serving, and a serving is 2.5 tablespoons. So 1 tablespoon is about 19 milligrams. Now, you would think 19 milligrams would be a great dose for someone who's sensitive to caffeine, since coffee has like, you know, 80, 90, 100 plus milligrams. That is still too much for me. Even a teaspoon is too much for me. So what I do is, depending on how much I feel I need, so I'll have like a tiny dose, a small dose, or like a decent sized dose. A really small dose for me is like you take a teaspoon and you just take a little bit on the on the tip of the teaspoon. That's enough to stimulate me a tiny bit if I just need a little boost. If I take I guess it would be easier if I start with the like a good sized dose. A good sized dose would be like 1/16 of a teaspoon. Would be a good sized dose. Half of that would be like a small dose, and then just a little bit on the teaspoon would be a tiny dose. And basically, like, depending on how much I feel I need, those are like the kind of like the three amounts I'll use. And if I'm like really, really desperate for energy, maybe I had a horrible night of sleep and I need to, like, I don't know, go see a mechanic, and I need to be ready to not be ready to not get taken advantage of and make sure I get a good deal, and be ready to fight. Half a teaspoon. That's like a almost like an emergency dose for me. Um, but usually I stick to the other three. And I've noticed that just gives me like the perfect amount of energy. Because a lot of times, if I had green tea, I would be like almost so overwhelmed with energy and be jittery to the point where it was like hurting me more than it was helping me. I remember sometimes when I was in college, I would have to stay up at night. I guess since I didn't get it done earlier, I was in a position where, because I didn't do my work earlier, I had to stay up late or all night. And sometimes I would have green tea. And I would notice that I had like more focus before I had the green tea because it's just like so hyper stimulating. And a lot of times I regretted having it. So the cacao powder really works really well. I mean, it has other nutrients in it as well, and it's so easy to get the right dose because it's a powder. I also tried matcha powder, but that was insanely stimulating for me. And I hear that there's like a calming effect in matcha. Like even green tea has L-theanine, which is like the calming compound that is also in matcha. Matcha is a form of green tea. It's just like powdered, so you have the whole leaf. It's not just steeped, and it's also like grown in like specific conditions to increase certain compounds. I think it has increased L-theanine levels. But I was taking it like every single day, and I was justifying it by saying like, oh yeah, it has a high L-theanine level, so it's gonna calm me down. But like, because caffeine stays in your system for such a long period of time, unless you're like unusually not affected by it, it's going to be in your system when you go to sleep, no matter when you have it. So obviously, the earlier you have it, the better. But from my understanding, is the half-life is like 12 hours, or I forget if it's 12 or 6. But either way, it's still going to be in your system to some degree. And any amount of caffeine, especially if you're sensitive to it, it's going to affect your sleep. So I was having that matcha tea like every single day for like 5 or 6 days. I remember getting sick, like really significantly sick. And I don't usually get sick after that, because I was just ruining my sleep day after day after day with a significant amount of caffeine. The caffeine level in matcha is pretty high, and I was ruining my sleep. And when you have bad sleep, it damages your immune system. So yeah, I just got sick after that, and so yeah, matcha powder hasn't worked either. Theoretically, you can do the same technique with matcha powder because you can like measure out how much caffeine you're having. But I do like cacao because it's less caffeine intense, I guess you can say. And another thing I do, because it does stay in my system, regardless of how much I take and how early I take, sometimes I like to have chamomile tea. And I've tried other like relaxants. I've tried other things to help me sleep, basically. I've tried magnesium L-threonate, I've tried L-theanine, I've tried apigenin, which is actually like a chemical that's within chamomile. I've tried lemon balm. Lemon balm is way too sedating for me. But chamomile, I noticed it's still sedating. And like a lot of times if I have it in the evening, like around 11, 12 a.m., 12 a.m., 11 p.m., in the evening, maybe like halfway through the next day, I'll feel it wear off. And it's not like a super powerful effect for me, but it's noticeable. And I do feel more energized when I don't take it, but I do feel like it does help my sleep. So it's kind of like it's kind of like a double-edged sword, I guess, because it does sedate you a bit, and you might need to like have caffeine the next day to offset the sedation a little bit. But um, but the fact that it gives you a good night's sleep is kind of worth it for me. The negative effect. So I think that's everything. I think microdosing caffeine is something that's not talked about very often. Ideally, I would like to never need it, but or I would like to not rely on it. But I find that it stimulates my nervous system on certain days where it otherwise wouldn't be stimulated, I guess. I mean, I go to the gym pretty much every day, also for uh, the energizing effect, cardio, some weight training. And it's kind of mixed. It's kind of like I do prefer my energy on ideal days when I feel good without caffeine, but that's not every day, and I kind of have to like get a feel for it. Um, it's kind of like some days I'll go to the gym without caffeine, and I'll get a good workout in, and um, I'll feel energized regardless of not having caffeine. But other days, it's like I wish I had the caffeine. So it's kind of like you have to kind of feel out your week, and based on when you work, when you have days off, and like the stress in your life. For me, I kind of work on weekends, and then early in the week, I kind of like recover from my work week. So then, um, like on my day off, I'll tend to like I'll tend to like not do anything. Like my first day off, I'll tend to like not do anything at all. I kind of just like relax. And then like the next few days, if I feel like I'm still kind of in a low place, that's when I'll have some caffeine. Um, but again, it's like if I feel like I need it, I feel like I need it. If I don't, I don't. You kind of have to like get a feel for how your week is, and get a sense of like when you can benefit from it. Um, but ideally, I think it's good to depend on it as little as possible. I would like to get off of it because, it's better for your natural energy to not be dependent on any outside stimulus, especially like something that you ingest. Exercise obviously is beneficial, but that's kind of, they call it exogenous and endogenous chemicals, I guess. Exogenous is from the outside. That would be like anything that you consume, and endogenous is like your body produces those like chemicals or hormones. So it is kind of better to rely on the endogenous stuff. And I guess no matter what you do, you're gonna be producing endogenous hormones and stuff. But yeah. So yeah, I mean, it does kind of suck when you're withdrawing from caffeine. Um, but like it's kind of one of those things where you just have to accept that I mean, if you're like a daily caffeine consumer, I guess that's different. I think for me, it's almost like there's a cost to consuming caffeine on a daily basis. And like the longer I do it consecutively, the worse the cost becomes. And sort of like with the matcha situation, I can get sick or I can get just like super lethargic. I just don't feel myself. I don't feel like myself when I consume caffeine for too long. It kind of just like you just have this nervous energy and you like can't connect to like a deeper self, I feel like. And then in my case, I like to have uh, at the very least like 1 or 2 days, at the very least 1 day that I don't consume caffeine. But it's rare that it's rare that I'll consume it on like 5 days. Usually it's like, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 days. And I might be able to get out of this dependence on it, even the tiny amount that I do consume. But anyway, video went on pretty long. I did have caffeine today. So this is my caffeine stimulated nervous system you're witnessing. But interesting chat. I've been holding on to this one for a while. And all the best, guys. All the best. Take care.